Hi, hello everyone. I'm Ross. I'm the chairman at Hive Business. Really pleased to have invited Simon, our tax director, here today. Welcome, Simon.
Thanks, Ross. Hi there, everyone.
Great. You're here, Simon, because we've got a budget coming up at the end of the month, which I think there's been a huge amount of kind of commentary and observation and
Yeah.
narrative about already, possibly more than I can ever recall in um, my ever increasing years as well. So Rachel Reeves is there with a kind of really important situation. So I know I'm going to flippantly kind of throw out some big numbers now, but the deficit was lurking around about 40 billion, from what I understand. We've had another financial report in the last week or two, which I think said there's another 3 billion that they've actually kind of got wrong on the numbers a little bit. Like I said, I'm being very flippant with very large numbers
Yeah.
here with our budget deficit, but it does feel like there's actually a huge amount of kind of festering resentment starting to build, but also kind of dovetail with some really kind of important promises that were made in Labour's manifesto, which broadly said they weren't going to increase taxes across the main items. Is that right, Si?
Yeah, definitely. This is definitely the budget that seems to have the most kind of commentary or leaks or rumors as to actually what are they going to do. Like it's all over the place. It's almost everything has come under potential fire. Some will be from credible sources, some will not, but it's never been quite this rife with speculation that I can remember. The manifesto pledge that Labour had was not to increase income tax, corporation tax, and VAT, and I have heard all three kind of being discussed. So up until recently, when asked if they're going to break their manifesto pledge, the answer's been a firm no. But you know, most couple of recent weeks, 4 weeks,
We had a
5
really
weeks,
bizarre speech, didn't
yeah,
we, from Rachel last week? Which, I think I can only kind of describe as being designed to kind of test the waters, to throw out an
yeah,
idea. You're kind of looking around, kind of waiting to see what the reaction is. And I think she was, nothing other than a PR exercise to try and test how much resentment and noise and agitation is going to be caused by what I can only imagine is a really long kind of shopping list of taxes that she wants to increase. There's no other kind of clever way of dressing it up, but there was a bit of kind of testing the temperature, well, a significant amount of
yeah.
testing of temperature in the water. That itself, I don't think had ever been done before as well to that extent as well. So kind of really weird dynamics and trying to kind of translate, I suppose, for our audience. I suppose I'm kind of sat here really, really alert because there's a lot of unprecedented movements been made.
Yeah, there is, and the list as long as your arm as to what might be coming. So
What
who
what what have
knows
you
at the
what have you
moment.
heard then that's on her shopping list?
Well, I suppose income tax is a biggie just because it is, one of the things they absolutely promised will not change, and was now starting to hear kind of rumors of, not only will they continue to freeze the bans, and everything is of course speculation, but our tax thresholds are all frozen due to unfreeze in a year or two, but we're already hearing, well, maybe they'll just postpone that unfreezing, which,
Yeah. I'd heard they were going
yes,
to reduce the higher rate to 45K as well. That was another one I'd heard. So not even a freeze, an actual reduction.
yeah, and they could do something like what they've got up in Scotland where the additional rate kicks in much lower as well. So, all these things are possible. But now we're also kind of hearing that, well, maybe the rates just will go up by, something like 1%. So, or 1 percentage point, I should say. So 20% becomes 21%.
Yeah.
Perhaps they're hoping that's just enough that it doesn't affect any one person too much, but help solve the problem. But
So
it's
you
a,
mentioned kind of 20 to 21% there. That's of course kind of basic rate earners. So
yeah,
the dentists and a lot of our audience are almost kind of guared some kind of increase from 40% that might kind of go up, or maybe the additional rate.
absolutely, yeah.
The additional rate's 45%, is that right?
45%, yep.
Yeah. But do you think they're going to apply it to kind of the basic rate kind of candidates as well then? Or possibly.
it could be across the board. Yeah, yeah. Mm.
I had also heard they might increase income tax, but they might reduce national insurance as some kind of compensation, which I only imagine is going to be 2% up and 1% down.
Yeah, who, it's all up for grabs, I think.
Yeah, okay. Right, okay. So what else? What else is on the shopping list?
Uh, well, the other one that's on the manifesto pledge, which perhaps on the face of it, not such a big deal for dentists, but actually is a big deal for everyone, is VAT. So rumours of either the VAT rate changing,
Hmm.
or the threshold coming down so that more businesses are within the scope of that. And of course, it feels like a business tax, and dentists might quite rightly say, well, I'm not VAT registered, so my prices aren't going to need to change. It doesn't affect me. I don't do that. But of course, everybody pays VAT. Businesses are kind of just collecting it for the government from us, the
Yeah.
consumers. So it could just mean that everything becomes slightly more expensive again.
Yeah, you got to kind
Um,
of stretch your monthly salary a bit
yeah.
further, and maybe some watch outs with if you've got kind of too many kind of product sales in your practice, that could
Yeah,
probably go over
yeah.
30K a little bit quickly if it's 30K.
If it drops that low, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Okay, so that's the second manifesto pledge potentially broken there. What about the third one?
Corporation tax. I've not actually seen too much about corporation tax. I don't know whether you have. I think businesses.
No.
I think she's a bit wary from the sting in employment taxes last time. That
Yeah. Well, we're up to 25% now anyway, so maybe they've already kind of dealt with that one, moving it from 19 to 25. Not sure how
yeah,
they got through that with a broken promise, but there we go. Okay. Well, it doesn't just stop there though, does it? There's a few other kind of random ones that we've been hearing kind of floating around.
yeah. I mean, we always have the annual prediction of an increase in capital gains tax. So capital gains tax is a lower tax that you pay on the sale of, or lower than income tax, but based off of the sale of capital assets. um, Years ago, they were similar tax rates, and there's always rumours that perhaps they will increase capital gains tax more in line with income tax. So it cuts uh, the options that you might have for tax saving from shifting things from being an income to capital. They've already hit capital gains tax there before with or, the government in general with a cut in entrepreneurs relief, etc., which and increases in rates last time actually from 14 to 18% coming in over the next couple of years.
Okay, so maybe we'll get a quiet moment on that one then.
Yeah, maybe.
Cracking. So again, so we're into a kind of realm slightly more kind of some emotional driven stuff, but I've heard about a mansion tax. Again, difficult to kind of tell exactly what form they kind of mean
Hmm.
by that. Slightly more kind of tangible, I suppose, and this could be where it overlaps, is an increase or a reform to kind of council tax.
Yeah,
Um,
which I've heard in connection with uh, what you might describe as a cut or a reform of stamp duty to turn it from less of a transactional tax that you only pay when you buy a property to become actually something you might just pay every year through
yeah.
increased council taxes instead.
Wow, okay. I mean, presumably there's some objective there to stimulate the kind of the housing market. It's fairly widely documented that stamp duty kind of does slow things down in that regard.
Yeah, and dressed up as a way to kind of shift some more of that burden away from the lower value properties through to higher value properties that perhaps people are choosing not to sell.
Yeah, there was a study released that said they're planning to or potentially planning to apply it to Band G, Band H properties. Something like 80% of the kind of the recovery on that
Mm,
policy will be from Band G properties, presumably because there's more of them than the Band H.
mm.
So that seems to be kind of square in the firing line. So that's cracking. So we're definitely kind of migrating a little bit more into this. I think it's this kind of philosophical viewpoint that the wealthiest should bear the most burden. Everything does seem to be kind of tried to be tailored towards that. I think the largest one that I've heard of, and this is, it's a massive trend that we've seen occurring, is some version of an exit tax now. So I personally seen and been involved with significantly more kind of migration or consideration of migration of assets overseas, or even kind of relocation overseas.
Mhm.
And I think we had for a long period of time, everyone was saying, well, no, that's just not going to happen. People are not going to do it once they come around to it. I think it must be happening because lo and behold, now what we've got is a reaction to the reaction. Always,
Mhm.
always the case, law and unintended consequences. Bad policy driven with unexpected outcome. They're now saying, well, okay, well, maybe we'll just kind of sticky plaster this sticky plaster with an exit tax. So do you have any kind of views how that would work?
It's, they don't think about how these things work. If I'm being blunt about it, they have an idea. They obviously see enough of an opportunity there for the idea to be worth pursuing.
Yeah,
There's this great big announcement with all the fanfare,
yeah,
and everyone who believes in what they believe they're trying to achieve is very happy, and everyone affected is very sad. But then come the practicalities.
yeah,
Um, so no is my answer to quite how that would
yeah.
work, and I will be surprised if they've even thought about how it will work.
Someone was kind of pointing at Norway, I think, who have got a version of an exit tax as well. So, like, in practical terms, I think if I had to predict on this, I'd probably say this won't be something that they'll implement because it will be such a thorny issue to kind of apply in reality. But they're talking about the kind of taxing unrealized gains if you migrate.
Mm.
So, whether it's that or some other kind of version, I mean,
Yeah,
that's
which
really going to divide opinion, isn't it?
well, it will, and kind of on a practical sense, quite often there's a lot of subjectivity there, which just kind of creates problems and uncertainty for everyone involved. So,
Yeah,
and loopholes and more
yeah.
complex rules that get layered on top of each other over the years.
Might add a few extra thousand pages onto the statute book for you.
Yeah, yeah,
Fantastic. So, like, I mean, I feel like this is the longest list we've ever discussed already. It's like, they're throwing the kitchen sink, or they're testing the waters to throw the kitchen sink at it.
yeah,
Um, I can't help but feel there'll be something else random that no one ever expected. And I don't know what that might be. In the days gone by, we've had kind of window taxes and
yeah.
beard taxes and, whatever it might be. I think probably one of my strong predictions is there'll be something kind of completely unexpected in there that will apply to I think our audience and our kind of client demographics. Putting you on the spot actually, because you know, have you got any kind of genius idea as what you would do if you were Rachel Reeves? What kind of tax would you throw a tax on?
Well, I'm not sure I try to throw a tax on anything rather than maybe try and look at where the tax is going, but you know,
I think
I,
that's fair.
I don't envy her. I will say that it's not an easy job, but she's not making life easy for herself either.
No, okay.
I might
Well,
switch that back round to you though. Do you what's your solution?
I mean, it's a fair point. I think I kind of know the client demographic that she's going to try and capture. I think it will be something to do with kind of businesses, because that seems to be the kind of the goose that she tries to kind of wring the life out of. Um, so some kind of business tax or something in some way, shape, or form. Again, again, I'm predicting something that's kind of even a little bit wilder than normal. So I don't know. I literally don't know what it might be. Some kind of holiday tax, maybe. I
Hmm.
don't know.
Time will tell. We don't have long to go now. End of the month.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say we're looking forward to it. We're not really looking forward to it. I think more than ever, my sentiment is I'm bracing myself
Hmm.
for what's going to come in. But Hyvia will be ready and prepared for when the details are released. What normally happens is they release a huge amount of PR on the day. There's a little bit light in detail
Yeah.
normally. When do you get sort of the granularity that is required?
Well, some of the detail does come out kind of as the speech is happening, of course, that's not everything, and it's all draft. It's usually a few months until we start to get the finance bills that are the actual law for some of these
Wow.
changes.
Okay, well, we'll update everyone as appropriate. Thank you very much, Si, for your
Yep.
time today.
Thank you.